Yo, what's up everyone? It's Brian and Jim once again, and today we're looking at Bart's Nightmare for the Super NES and the Sega Genesis.
Released in 1992 in the US and 1993 everywhere else, this game was developed by Sculpted Software and published by Acclaim under their Flying Edge label.
Alright, so the graphics. Well, we hate to say it, but this game actually does look pretty damn good. So here's a little side-by-side of the Genesis and the Super NES. Personally, I think the Super NES looks slightly better, but really, it's not like the Genesis looks bad. There's plenty of color in both consoles. There's tons of foreground and background animations going on. Your sprites look pretty detailed. There's really no complaint here about the graphics in this game. But don't be fooled. There's plenty of things that we didn't like about this game. So, as you can see from our breakdown, we did give it 7s, but I'm adding a beer to the beer requirement meter simply because you need to get that first beer out of the way before you start doing your heavy drinking.
Alright, the sound. This is going to be pretty rare for the most part because, little spoiler here, we actually liked it on the Genesis more than the Super NES. So, to give you a comparison of the two, here you go. So, the music is basically the same for the most part. It's weird though, because on the Super NES, it sounds like a Genesis, which is a bad thing. But on the Genesis, it sounds like a good sounding Genesis game, which is a good thing. It's a little tough to explain, but if you play it long enough, you'll definitely notice a difference, and you'll actually see why it fits the Genesis way more. That being said, here's the breakdown of the scores, but in each case, Brian liked the music slightly better than I did. And you know what? Let's add one beer for Genesis being better in the sound department for once. Ha!
The control in this game, it just sucks. There's nothing out in the open obvious like why it sucks. I can't pinpoint it, but all these early Simpsons games have a very simple control scheme. One button jumps, one button shoots, and that's usually it. And with a game like this, where it's basically just a collection of mini games, although the control differs per stage, like some of them you're more of a shooter, other it's just platforming from side to side, it still sucks. There's a weird stiffness that you just really need to get used to. Your shooting, you really need to start timing it better because it's not the most intuitive thing. And there's just so much cheap little shit that you don't learn until you die. As you can see, we both gave it a 4, and I'm adding 3 beers because for fuck's sake, you're in a 16-bit era now. Start getting better controls, Acclaim, you sons of bitches.
The gameplay, once again, like a lot of other games, it tries to do something different, and it has a bunch of different game types in the game itself. Like Brian described, you have your shooter level, you have platformers, you have weird action games. You have a game where you run around as Godzilla that we don't know what the hell we're doing. It's just terrible to control. It's another thing of an interesting concept with the bulk of the game just being shit. The only sort of fun we had with it was the shooter level, but besides that, everything really failed to impress. So we probably gave it maybe slightly higher than we should scores because of how much it sucks. They give you options, just none of them are good. So I'm going to add another 4 beers because I'm sick of this. Lots of different mini games inside one main game concept.
Alright, the originality. Well, if you're psychic, you can guess. It's not going to be as high as the previous titles have been. The basic formula is, let's have a Simpsons game. Let's throw the Simpsons in scenarios, particularly Bart, in scenarios that other games have already provided, whether it be shooter, platforming, puzzle, yada yada yada. This game does nothing new. And it's really just kind of, So here's our breakdown. I gave it 4s for both systems. Jim gave it a 5 for some reason. I'm attributing that to beer. So, I'm going to add another 2 beers, because why the hell not?
Alright, the replayability. This game's replayable, but it's replayable for all the wrong reasons. Why do I have to keep repeating myself? It's hard. It's a very hard, stiff, annoying game. And I'm sick of saying it, but it's gotta be said. It's just another one that fits that mold. Every single time you play through the game won't be completely the same. Finding the papers in the street, sometimes you can find a lot. Sometimes you can walk around for ages without ever coming across one. So, you know in Pokemon when you're going against all those Zubats in Dark Cave? Imagine the opposite of that. Brian is very disappointed in me right now. When you land on the paper, it's going to be different doors every time, so I guess that adds a little bit of like randomness to the game. But that gets annoying because sometimes we'll be going through the same doors again and again and again, and you have to go through all of them to beat the freaking game. So, score-wise, Brian gave it a 4. I just hate it so much I had to give it a 3. Even with all the bullcrap they throw at you, there's not a lot of replayability here. I'm going to add 2 beers. One for the game pissing me off, and one for that sweet Pokemon reference.
Overall, what can we say? You've heard how much shit we've talked on this game, but at the same time, we're going to be fair. This isn't the worst game you can possibly play, but it is just a disappointment all around. An interesting concept, but really, when you just take little snippets from other types of game and throw the Simpsons characters into it, it just comes off unoriginal, and when you have controls that are really annoying, that doesn't help you very much. Unless you're a hardcore Simpsons fan, we would not suggest wasting your money on this title. For a game that's 16-bit, it should have offered you so much more, and it feels like a recycled NES game.
If you do, get it for the Genesis.
Yes, if you do get it for a Genesis. Alright, so what do we pair this with? Well, we wanted a beer that was all around just decent, kind of middle of the road, but should have been better than it was. We're going to go with the Blue Moon Rounder here. And we know, a lot of people hate Blue Moon, but for all the wrong reasons. This beer, like we said, it's okay. It's got a decent amount of alcohol. It's a interesting Belgian-style ale, but really, it's just your average beer. Slightly overpriced, and you can share your hatred with the beer in the game. Thanks as always, guys, for checking in. Make sure you come back tomorrow for another Simpsons game review. And be sure to hit subscribe or click like if you enjoyed the video. Thanks.